Stream for mind, channels, chat, bed chat. That's all new. Why am I not doing? Ah, there I am. Right. Just check Facebook, make sure I'm live. So I can see the chat because I can't figure out how to do the chat. Oh, camera's falling. I'll get professional one day. Right. For some reason this hasn't done the same thing as it did last week. Trouble with live, I suppose, isn't it? You don't have a chance to redo it. Get myself up on Facebook, see if I'm there. Do. Yes, there I am. I am live. Don't know if I can be heard. Let's play. Isn't it? You don't have a chance to redo it. Get myself up on Facebook, see if I'm there. I'm all there, so if anybody joins me, welcome, hello. I'll leave that there so I can see the chat, just in case. So how is everybody this week? I haven't shut the door. Hold on, I need to shut the door. I've had a bit of a odd week this week. Right, one sec. Forgot to shut the door. I don't know why that hasn't done what it did last week. Weird. Mind you, I don't know how to see the chat on. Chat settings. I've got no clue how to do this that when I'm not live, you see. Embed in stream. Oh, that looks interesting. Bot analytics. I might try those another day. I'll have a look at that. Try and work that out. So hopefully I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. Shut the door. 1 second. Just to try and keep any noise that comes from the rest of the house to a minimum. And it always feels a bit weird. I know they can watch this live or they can watch it if they're on, but it feels weird if somebody's listening. Hello, whoever's there. As I always say, you can watch live, you can just listen, you don't have to interact, just be there. It's lovely to have people there. This is still for mind, raise some money, mental health and all that. If people like it, I'll carry on doing it. I had somebody reach out to me actually this week, which was really nice, said it was good. So that was nice. But has anybody had a bit of a weird week this week? I had a bit of a cry on Friday. I just felt really low all of a sudden and just couldn't help myself. It was just I think there's so much going on with a lot of changes happening, and I feel like because I've not been very well and I'm still recovering from the cough and my tooth and everything, I just felt like I haven't really been a very good mum this summer because we haven't done an awful lot. I mean, we went away at the beginning of the holiday, but then when we came back from holiday, I spent time working on getting my office sorted, getting a other things done, sort of, because we've been on holiday. It took us about a week to recover, I think, from all the activity. But I've spent that week, then I got my bad tooth and stuff, and now it's like there's 1 week left of the holiday, well, 1.5 sort of thing, and we haven't done anything, and I was sort of like feeling really bad about that, really guilty about that. And then there was just going back to my youth work job for one of the last sessions. I don't know why this one's lagging. I've plugged it into a different thing, so it might be that I've plugged it into there. So I'm coming to the end of that chapter in my life, I suppose, which is a bit hard. I never thought I'd leave. I always loved it. I do love the job. Love the job. Love working with teenagers. They're so interesting. They're so funny. They're just, they're just fabulous. And I love it. So that's coming to an end, and I feel like it's a bit of a loss. And my colleagues there are fantastic. I absolutely love them to bits. And I'm so proud of each and every one of them. They've all come on so much over the time that I've known them. So there's all that change and stuff like that. So it hits you, doesn't it, when you're having a lot of change going on and a lot of things, and then you've got your mum guilt, or there's always something to be guilty about. I've got hair everywhere. I molt like nobody's business. It's crazy. Yeah. So, and then on Thursday I had a really low. Yeah, yesterday. No, Friday was a really low day, and I had a little cry just about everything, and I felt better after that, because it's a release. You've got to let yourself have a little cry now and then. But I was exhausted as well, so I had a cry and a nap. I'm lucky my kids are so understandable. They'll go to an age now where you can do that sort of thing, but I've always been really open with them about how I'm feeling, and emotions, and where they're coming from, and what I'm feeling and why. So they're quite understanding, and they're quite open about their own feelings, which is really, really nice. And yeah, so it's been a bit of an up and down week, so I don't know how yours has been. If you let me know in the comments, or just reach out to me if you've had a rough week, that would be fine. I had somebody reach out to me this week, actually, and they were saying about how they've had some forms from the therapist that is doing CBT, and it's not quite clear, because I've been through a lot of different types of CBT, and figured it out. Some of it I've had to figure out how I can work around what they want, because they say what they want, but they say it in a very neurotypical, with good mental health, and when your mental health's not when your mental health's bad, or you're not neurotypical, sometimes it doesn't make sense. I think when you've got, from my experience, when I've had really bad bouts of depression or anxiety, my thought processes are very different to how I am normally. They're sluggish. It's harder to actually get anything in and to understand things, and it takes a lot longer to process. It takes me long enough to process anyway, but then you don't actually understand fully what's going on. So I think the people that design these things, they're designing them from a good place, but I think a lot of the times they may not have ever have experienced the things that they're trying to treat. They're working from a healthy mind and a neurotypical mind. So the questions that they ask are really weird, and this one was an anxiety-based one. So if anybody out there is suffering from anxiety at the moment and has this form, I'll like just sort of tell you what it is. So it's the thought circle. Have you heard of the thought circle? So you have a negative thought. There's a situation that triggers the negative thought, then the negative thought triggers an emotion and a feeling, and then it sort of like makes you feel more anxious about everything, and you could just go round and round in circles. It's sort of like that. So you have the negative thought. So there's the situation, the negative thought, and then there's evidence for and evidence against, and it was sort of like, well, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do here. And when it's anxiety based, because there's different ones, there's ones for anxiety, ones for depression and stuff like that, but the anxiety ones are based on things like if you've had a bad experience, or you think you might have a bad experience somewhere. So the example I gave was you went to the shop one time and you forgot your purse, and it was awful and it was so embarrassing. I've been to the shop. I didn't forget my purse, but my card wouldn't work. Well, my phone wouldn't work. The card wouldn't accept it. So I was there in the shop. Hadn't taken my card. I hadn't taken a purse because I'd got it all on my phone. And I always felt anxious paying with my phone anyway. So I've just stopped doing that now. And I put it on and it wouldn't take it, and I didn't have a card to pay with, so I had to leave my stuff, come home, get my card, and then go back. And it was quite it wasn't as bad as I'd have thought it would have been, to be honest. It was, the people at the shop were really nice. They were saying they understood. It could have been their card machine, it could have been, they were really, really nice. And there was nobody in the queue behind me tutting at me or anything like that. So it's one of these things that you sometimes experience, or you think or worry about experiencing. And the worry of experiencing it is worse than it is when you actually experience the situation. So I had that experience, and so I used that. It was sort of like, okay, so you're worried about going to the shops because of all the different things that could go wrong. You could bump into somebody you don't like. You can forget your purse, have a problem with the till, the checkout, whatever. And so that's the evidence for sort of thing, all the things that could possibly go wrong. And then the evidence against those thought processes would be, well, I've been to the shops hundreds of times, none of these things have happened. Polly was saying that she's forgotten her purse, or well, she's lost her card didn't work, and everybody was really nice and polite, and it wasn't such a bad experience anyway, so maybe if that happens to me, it won't be so bad. It's not the end of the world. It's not going to cause too much of a problem. The worst that would happen is I'd have to put my shopping back and go back another day. Nobody's going to remember you, because more people are more interested in what other people think of themselves, than what they think of other people. So it's just we're in a very self-centered world, so nobody's thinking about nobody's going to remember what happened then. It's more like they're going to think about how you perceive them. People, strangers especially, are more worried about how you perceive them than anything else. They're not particularly over analysing you so much as they're worried about you over analysing them. So it's just those sort of things. So it's sort of working out, what evidence have I got to back up this this thought and this feeling. So, well, there's very little evidence compared to what the evidence is that you've got to not back it up. It goes back. There's a thing in sorry, my cough seems to be getting a bit worse. Narrative therapy that I've been studying and got a diploma in, and I'm doing a practitioner course as well at the moment, where we have like storylines in our head. We have like a story that we tell ourselves about ourselves a lot of the time, like you're a bad driver, or you're bad at this, or you can't do that, or you can't do the other thing, or there's all sorts of things you could have. I'll stick with the bad driver one because I've got personal experience of that, and it's the one that was in the book as well. So, hi Kerry, how are you, darling? I'm so proud of your kids with, exam results and everything. It's so good. I think that might be one thing as well that's been affecting me this week, is seeing everybody else celebrating their kids' successes, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So with the narrative therapy line, we have this storyline that we tell ourselves. So for instance, I'm a bad driver. So what we do is to build up that storyline and make it thicker and more permanent, is we pick out all the things that we do wrong. So if we pull out in front of somebody, we'll pick out on that and focus on that and think, yeah, I'm definitely a bad driver because I pulled out on that person. We all do it. It's part of, we're human. We always make mistakes. And then you'll think about, you got lost on a trip somewhere you weren't thinking, you took the wrong turn, or you cut somebody off at the roundabout. So all of these things that you do wrong, you'll pick those up, you'll back them up, you'll make this storyline much thicker and much more permanent, and that will be a big part of your personality, a big part of who you are. I'm a bad driver. But when you start to try and change that, and you start to look at the positive things and the good things that you do, you can change that storyline so that it's a more positive storyline. Well, it's like, yeah, I cut that bloke up once, but I drive every day and I don't cut people up every day. So you're generally a much better driver than you think you are. Because I used to think I was an awful driver because I was told I was a bad driver. Passed my test and everything. But then it was sort of like, my partner at the time, he would be going, oh, you're so close. If I was driving, he would critique everything. He'd critique the driving, he'd critique how close I was to the curb. So I just started thinking I was a bad driver and I couldn't drive. So I stopped driving. And it was only because when we was in Birmingham, it was easy to just get the bus everywhere. It took time, but it was just as easy. And so I stopped driving completely, and I was just starting to drive a little bit with support when we moved back down here, but I still wasn't driving very much. But when I started working at Pets at Home, I had to drive to work for 6 o'clock in the morning, so I had to start. And it was then that I started to change the story of what kind of driver I was, that I was a better driver. So I'd pick out all the good bits of my driving skills, and start to focus on those rather than the negative. And now I feel like I'm a good driver and I drive everywhere. Yeah, I still make mistakes. I still have moments where I think, oh my God, what am I doing? But everybody does. Everybody makes mistakes when they're driving. Everybody has bad days. Everybody does stupid things. I had this bloke the other day just do something really, or it was really stupid, really selfish, and he just went at me. It made me really angry. But you know, if there are people out there that aren't so good drivers and things like that, but even when I make a mistake, I think, well, it's a mistake. We're all human. We all make mistakes. But I'm a good driver. I'm convinced of it. Nobody's told me anything else since then. And now I drive all over the country. I'm happy to drive up to Manchester, the Lake District, Birmingham. I take the kids up to Birmingham regularly. You know, I drive all over. And I would not have done that a few years ago. Well, when I was still living in Birmingham, because I thought I was a bad driver. And so these storylines, we can change them and we can move them and we can alter them by what we're perceiving. So that's what they mean by that that question within those sheets. Really, it's what's the evidence for, what's the evidence against. So how can you back that line of thinking up, and how can you knock that line of thinking down? But they don't explain it properly. So she didn't understand. So she reached out and says, have you ever had CBT? And can you help me with this? So I explained it to her, like with the shopping thing. And that helped her understand it more. And I said, you can always ask them, because they don't expect you to be perfect. They don't expect you to know it all. They don't expect you to get it right first time. Unfortunately, with a lot of CBT trained, they have it a set, you have a set number of weeks, like you have 6, 9 or 12 weeks or something, whatever. And you often feel pressured to get it done within that time. But as long as you're trying, you know, they appreciate that and they understand it. And if you ask them out, ask them to clarify things, because I always, for years, I've felt that I was stupid because I didn't understand things straight away. That because I didn't get it right away, I couldn't ask the questions. I felt really bad about asking questions to clarify things. I think that's one thing that my autism diagnosis really helped with, because I don't feel so bad now asking for clarification. I'd started asking more for clarification anyway. I think as you get older, you start caring a bit less what other people think about you anyway, because you've got those core people in your life that are important and that love you and you love them, and you know, you've got that level of security and safety. And as long as you've got those core people, it doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks. And you know, I've got my core people, and the majority of the people that I know and I've met accept me for who I am, which is lovely. But like I was saying, because Kerry's hello there, my daughter is 16. She's going to college. And she hasn't been in school due to some issues with the school and their lack of understanding. Well, a specific teacher's lack of understanding, I should say. The school in a whole has been good, but they've had problems with their SEND team. They left the excellent team they had when she went there, left quite soon after she started. I think it was after the first year she was there, and then they just haven't really had a proper SEND team since then. And her head of year did not understand SEND whatsoever. Didn't get it. Caused a whole lot of problems. Caused her lots of anxiety. And rather than, we tried lots of different ways of getting her back into school, lots of different ways of trying to, you know, ease that anxiety and get her in. But rather than cause trauma, we decided that we weren't going to force it. So she's not, she really didn't go into school at all for year 11. Year 10 was sporadic at best, and year 11 was just, well, the school decided at the end of year 10 that they couldn't meet her needs with her educational healthcare plan. They couldn't meet her needs, they couldn't support her. But there was nowhere else to go at that point. Nobody could take, it was like at the very end of year 10, we had, the summer to try and find her a new place at a new school, and it was just not going to happen, because spaces in specialist schools are few and far between at the best of times. Amy's anxiety and they wanted her to go back a year. They wanted to redo year 10, and you can't do that in public schools. You can only do that in private schools, and so you need to apply for the funding for it. You need to get the council to agree, and there was no way we were going to get that done in the timescale that we had. So she didn't go back to school at all, and until she didn't do her GCSEs, we pulled her. We got her educational healthcare plan done. We stayed registered with the school until her educational healthcare plan was recompleted properly, and she got her place in college because she's doing this course, which is it's called a STEPS course. So it's for young people with additional needs or learning difficulties and things like that. So it gives them foundational maths, foundational English, life skills, employability skills, and that sort of thing. Now, educationally, she's really bright, she's really clever, she can do the work. It was just the social things and the anxiety that were caused by the school that stopped her being able to attend. So seeing all the prom pictures and things like that were a bit, it was a bit of a sort of like, for me, I mean, she's not aware of it. She's not really on social media, so she wasn't really that bothered, I don't think. But for me, it was sort of like, oh, she should be there. She should be with people. She hasn't got many friends, because of something that happened in primary. And then I was hoping to meet up with some of the people over the summer, but it was COVID, so we couldn't do that. So there was a load of stuff that happened all in one go that like prevented a lot of her social enhancement sort of thing. And then all the GCSE results coming out, and it's like she's gotten on, she hasn't been able to sit any, and I think it was just a bit of I just felt a bit, I don't know, a bit sad for her. I mean, I've always said it's not a problem, you can do your GCSEs, you can do learning all over the place, you can do it in different ways, different things. But I think that just really struck me, that that's a milestone that she hasn't met with her peers. It just sort of shows a bit more of the differences and the difficulties she has to other people. And I think that sort of got me down a bit this week as well. But yeah, bless her. She's happy. She's looking forward to going to college, bought herself a new backpack and everything. So I'm hoping it all goes well. And it's good that she's got this opportunity to do that. I don't think that was around when I was at school. We didn't have anything like that. So, it's not going to hold her back. It's not going to stop her. She's going to do what she wants to do and things. It's just me that's more sort of like, oh, look at all these happy... Because we can't help ourselves, can we? We compare ourselves to others. We shouldn't. It's the worst thing to do ever, is to compare ourselves to others, because their lives are completely different. Their circumstances are completely different. But it's one of those things that we do all the time. We just compare ourselves, and you have to stop comparing yourselves to other people and go, no, I'm not that person. I'm me. I've got different circumstances, and I'm doing what's best for me and my family at this moment in time. But sometimes it's just sort of like you feel that other people are doing such a much better job than you. And then you just got to remind yourself that you're doing the best. I think that's what I've had this week a lot, because we've got 1 week left of the holidays, all of the GCSE results coming out and stuff like that, and there's the prom at the beginning, and I've not been very well. We haven't done an awful lot, so I was doing comparisonitis, and just thinking, oh, if the people have done things with their kids, they've taken them away, they've done things. I mean, my kids are quite happy, really, just being at home. I haven't wanted to go out. I haven't wanted to do anything. I haven't really been feeling brilliant. But you know, I had no plans to say anything. Well, I had a couple of things to say today, but I think I'm a bit tired. I had my new shift because I'm doing casual work, doing a bit of casual work until my business builds up and I can actually get a full income from that. So until I've built up my business, I'm doing a bit of casual work, and my youth work doesn't finish until I've got 2 more shifts there next week, which is going to be hard, because I was telling some of the young people that I was leaving, and they were going, no, you can't leave. No. My colleagues were going, no, you can't leave, but I can't stay there with what happened and with lack of progress. There's nowhere for me to aim for. There's nothing for me to do, and if it was closer, I did think about just keeping the one shift, but I just don't want to. You know, when you just don't want to do it anymore. I just don't want to go all the way over there. I'll pop in and see them now and again, I think, maybe, if I can. Hopefully I can. But yeah, so I'm finishing there next week, and I've got a month's holiday, and then that's it. So I've started this casual work, and I had my first shift there, and I didn't finish till 10:30. And although it's not far to get home, I got home, it was a decaf coffee, but I had a coffee because it was a bit chilly last night. It was a bit chillier than I thought it was going to be. So I wanted just to warm up a bit, and then I started listening to my audiobook and playing a few games on the phone. And next thing I knew, it was like midnight, and I thought I'd better really go to bed. Mind you, I got home, I finished there at 10:30, so I got home about 20 to 11. So it was only like an hour wind down, which isn't too bad, I suppose. And then I set my alarm for 9 o'clock so I could get up this morning and come talk to you lovely people. Because why not? I'm quite enjoying it. I don't know. I had because I'd said to Mind that I was going to be doing it from the 1st of August. They obviously don't really check up. Because I didn't. I think it was the 3rd, wasn't it? This first Sunday, because I hadn't really made up my mind. It was one of those spontaneous. Oh, I'm going to do this because mental health is so important, and I like the idea. I'm going to do this. I had no clue what I was going to do. I just thought, I'll do some diamond art and chat, because diamond art and crafts and things is one of my ways to regulate and to help keep myself. It helps to stop me overthinking, because I just think about what I'm doing with the diamond art or crafts and things like that. I've got some more crafts on the way, actually, which is exciting. So I just thought I'd do that. So I didn't plan anything when I did it. I just thought, oh, I could do this, so I said I'd do it. And they sent me an email saying, oh, thanks for your support, thanks for everything, da, 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 da. I think I've raised about 20 quid so far. I've had one donation, but I think but that was because of the tech issues, and I wasn't getting out to people. I was on the wrong channel because I couldn't go live on my personal channel. I was having to go live on my business channel, which isn't quite as busy. There's not quite so many people on there, so that was funny. But it made me think, they sent through a questionnaire thing as well to say how they did, and I says, well, you know, having this made me feel a bit unsupported properly, that it wasn't really, because I suppose a lot of people doing this will have been doing it because they've suffered mental health problems, or they're experiencing mental health problems and things like that, because, or they know somebody that has, and that lack of support and that just sort of like generic response was almost sort of like, oh, so I don't really matter then, do I? I'm not that important. But that was my first reaction, that was my first thought. But then, you know, you start thinking rationally, because I'm not in mental health crisis, I'm not having suffering of mental health, you know, my mental health's good-ish at the moment. I was able to think, well, I suppose they've probably got a lot of people that are doing this and things like that, but I still fed it back that, you know, I could have had a bit more support, because like I've had to figure out all the streaming stuff myself. I'm not a streamer, I've never done it before, but I wanted to support the charity, so I've had to try and work it all out myself, figure it all out, and there was no support there as to what to use. I mean, they've got a Discord channel, which was great, which is where I did get the support from. I says, I'm new to this, how do I, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do, how do I do it, what platform do I need and stuff. So they recommended the platform for me, and then I did a bit more research and I found something that streams it onto different They suggested I don't know what it's called, the program that I'm using to get the two cameras. I still need to work out the focus on that one. I don't know how to do it, but I will. I can zoom in, but it's still a bit I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe it's because I've plugged it into that thingy. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so it's sort of like they're dealing with people with mental health. They've got to think of the mental health of the people that are streaming, and there was no check-ins, there was no how are you doing or anything like that. There's no because I'm not a Discord user, so I don't think about it as much. There was no real guidance, so I've had to work all this out myself. And I says I'm brand new to streaming, and there's probably going to, I'm not the only one that's going to be brand new to streaming, or you know, it's a good way for people to get into streaming. So it would be nice to have had a bit more support in that and things. And I says I'm not a Discord user, so you know, it's not my first go-to thing of maybe questions and answers. So yeah, I fed all that back. But before, as I was saying, my mental health, if my mental health isn't good, that would have just been, oh, I'm just a number, I'm not important, I'm just blah. And I wouldn't have, I'd just given it all up. But even when this stops, I think I might carry on doing these, because why not? It gets me up on a Sunday morning, if nothing else. Now the kids are a bit older, they get up, they sort their own breakfast out, they just sit down and chill and do their own thing, really. So I think I feel a bit lost some days. It's just sort of like, oh. And on a Sunday, unless I've got something planned, which I don't always do, because I don't like to plan too much in, because I don't know how I'm going to be feeling. and I don't like letting people down, so I don't book anything because I worry about, oh, what if I've booked something with somebody and I don't feel very well that day, I've got to let them down, and the overthinking thing goes in again, and you go that circular thought process, which I think is what's caused some of the problems this summer holiday, really, with not doing anything. We're going on an exciting shopping trip this afternoon. We're going shopping for food, and then I've promised the kids a McDonald's just to get them out of the house, because we haven't. Well, I have, because I've had to go to work, and Paul has because he's had to go to work. But we've hardly been out of the house, apart from that, because now I'm working from home. I suppose when I'm trying to work on my business, I'm a business owner. That's going to be strange when people say, what do you do? I can't just fall back now and go, oh, I'm a youth worker, because that's what I've done. What do you do? I could say I'm self-employed, and then they're going to ask, oh, what do you do? And then I'm dreadful sometimes. I just go off on one because the autism kicks in, and I go, hyperfocus, or the ADHD, whichever one's in charge at the time, will go, woo, yes, let's talk, tell you all about everything. So I have to really limit myself and keep myself down. And then if they ask more, I'm a bit of an oversharer. I think I've told, I started my new shift at my casual job, which is lovely. It keeps my hand in with young people and stuff. But I think I told them my life history yesterday because it was quiet, and they were asking questions about me, and oh, where'd you come from? What's your background? You know, what experience do you have? All of this sort of thing. So I think I told them pretty much my life history yesterday, which is what I'm going to start doing with you guys as well. I just wanted to talk about the week. I can't believe it's 11:15 already. But yeah, because it's talking about mental health, it's a mental health support channel, I suppose, now, maybe. I don't know. I wanted to talk about my mental health because it's been a bit rocky this week with everything, and having a little cry. I did feel a lot better actually having a little cry. It wasn't a big massive sob. It was just my eyes leaked, and I thought, oh, this has to be. I just felt really rotten, really miserable and sad, and I don't know. It was just a lot of a lot of big feels, I think, were going on. So I had a cry, and there's nothing wrong with having a cry. It's really good to have a cry. There's a lot of people out there that try to keep it all bottled in. I did feel so much better after having a cry. A little bit of a cry, a little bit of a nap, reset myself. I think that's what I tried to do. Yeah, it's been a big week for a lot of people, I suppose, with the GCSE results as well, because people put so much pressure, the schools put so much pressure on our young people to do good. It's almost like it's the be end, and it's the what's the be all or end all, or whatever it is. It's the most important thing. It's, if you don't do well in your GCSEs, your life's over, sort of thing. And I find that really bad. Because I've said to my kids all the way through, I said, just try and get through it. If you get through it and you do well, that's great. If you don't, that's fine too, because there's other ways you can get your GCSEs. There are other ways you could get qualifications into jobs, or there's other ways to get into the work that you want. A daughter wants to get into acting. So there's different ways to do it. You've just got to find those ways. I mean, I didn't do very well in my GCSEs. Well, I did all right. I got 2 Bs, 3 Cs, a D, an E, and an F, which are I can't remember. I don't know what the equivalent in the numbers would be, but not very high. I always actually said, it was only when I was talking to a young person about a year ago now, that I realised I'd messed up on my GCSEs, because nobody ever checked back then. And I'd said I'd got 2 Bs, 4 Cs, a D, an E and an F. And it was only when I was going through what subjects I'd done, I realised I'd fabricated a pass in my maths. So I got a B in home economics, a B in business studies, because I loved those. Then I got a C in English language, English literature. Only because it was coursework. I'd never have done that if I'd have had to do an exam. Because it was the start of the GCSEs. The GCSEs were supposed to be coursework based, so it was how you performed over the 2 years, how you performed consistently, more than just how you performed on that one day in that exam system. There were still a few exams, but not as many, and which I think is much better, because that one day you could be having a bad day, you could have a headache, you could be ill, you could be having an emotional moment, and all that pressure on these few hours possibly dictating the rest of your life. It's just ridiculous at that age. Ridiculous. Anyway, GCSEs, I didn't do very well. Then I thought, so the English C's, that was fine. Then I was thinking, well, history, I know I did well at history because I really liked history, and my history teacher expected me to get like a high grade, so that must have been a C as well. So what were the D, the E and the F? Well, F was in music. I know F was in music because I didn't bother learning about all the composers and stuff because I didn't see the point. E must have been chemistry. So D must have been maths, because that's all I did. I didn't do anything else that I can remember. So I must have misremembered, or just thought, I'm just going to blag it. I don't know, unless I've just completely forgotten a subject that I've had a GCSE, which is possible because it's been a very, very long time since I was in school. I mean, 1989 I left school, so it's a very long time. So it's possible that I haven't been fibbing for however many years on my CVs, because nobody checked back then. I mean, I left school and I just never went back. I did my last exam and that was it. I never went back. I never went to pick up my certificates or anything. I got a letter in the post to say what I'd got, and that was it. I mean, I was under the influence of a 36-year-old at the time, because I was when I was 16, I was groomed into a relationship with a 36-year-old, which is so I left home shortly after. I think and we moved into the new house when I was at Christmas. So did I turn 16 then, or was that 17? I can't remember now. I'll have to work it out. I'll have to do the maths. But yeah, I left home really early because of that. Because part of the grooming process is to isolate the young person, from their family and their friends. So they become completely reliant on the person doing the grooming. So I was groomed into that relationship, and it became abusive and controlling, and it was a bad time. But we'll go over that another time, because hello Helena, I forgot to check my Facebook to see who was watching. So yeah, we're running short on time now, so I'll tell you that story another time, really, because it's quite a long-winded one. And this is what this is all about, because with my business I like to try and I encourage people to tell stories. So that's why I'm here and I'm doing this, is to share stories with other people. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. You can pop in, pop out. You can watch it on replay later. Pop a comment. Let me know when you've watched it, where you've watched it, whether you want me to continue doing it, whether you find anything useful, if there's anything you want to talk about, anything that you're struggling with. You know, just drop me a message and I can approach that. I can look at that in future weeks while we're doing the diamond art, or a different craft. I've ordered some stabby stuff. This camera's stopped working again. I don't know what's up with that today. I'm having so much fun with this tech. It's just sort of like every week something new goes wrong. Actually, last week it was the sound. The 2 weeks before that, I couldn't even get this set up to work. I'd got it working beforehand and then it wouldn't work on the day. Now I've got this set up working sort of thing. Last week it was the sound, couldn't get the sound up. And then this week this camera has decided it doesn't want to play. But I think I know what might be wrong with that, because it's not plugged directly into my computer base. I've tried to give myself a bit more freedom with because I've got one of those sit-stand desks, and so I've put an extension on to make it easier to raise the thing. And I was running out of ports on my computer, so I bought an extension, and this is plugged into the extension. So I think it might very well be that it doesn't like being in the extension, so I might try moving it over. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, it's definitely frozen. Did that earlier. This the main camera, one of the cameras did that earlier. No, this one did it earlier, and I just had a picture of the background, so I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, I've messed myself round. Hold on. Learning how to do things. So, so yeah, emotional week. I suppose it's been an emotional week for a lot of people, because their GCSE results, kids are growing up, they're moving on, they're going to college, they're setting off on their journeys. I mean, I don't know what it's like for the parents whose 16-year-olds out and about with their friends, because mine's just tucked up in her bedroom all the time. But it's quite nice having a home. I know she's safe, because I know what I was like when I was that age, and I'd hate to be my mother. Poor mum. I felt guilty for years. I felt so guilty about what I put my parents through for years, and how I'd been and what I'd done. And it was only when I was doing, I think this is probably why I ended up in the youth work. I was doing training over COVID, and that's when I found out, I learnt more about grooming. I was always aware of grooming a little bit, but it was always sort of like a different sort of form of grooming that I'd had the training on as much as anything. And I was going through this training, and I was thinking, oh, that's what happened to me. So it wasn't actually my fault. I was a vulnerable young person being taken advantage of. So I was able to let go of the grief, and I think that helped me, the guilt. And it also started helping me processing the grief of my lost childhood, I suppose. My last teenage. I wasn't a normal teenager. I did the drinking and the stuff, but it was more to try and just sort of like forget what was going on with everything else, I think, or just to help me feel more social. So that really did help. So I think I needed that part of life experience, like the youth work, to get rid of that part of the guilt that I had for my parents, because especially when I became a parent, it was like, oh my God, what did I put them through? But I felt if I had a youth worker who was there talking, because that's what teenagers don't like to talk to their parents. They don't listen to their parents. If they're actually programmed, it's part of their pre-programming, so to speak, not to listen to their parents. It's weird. It's part of their developmental thing that they don't listen. So you don't listen to your parents. You don't listen to teachers. You don't listen to you. You listen more to your friends. But by that point, it was sort of like, I only had one friend who would say, not many of them knew, to be honest. It was all very hush-hush. Which made it all exciting and everything. But yeah, it was sort of like very much a guilt-ridden 20 odd years that I had over what I'd put my parents through, and then I became a parent. It was even worse. But once I learnt about grooming and how that works properly, and especially with the autism diagnosis, that just put the icing on the cake, and the ADHD just all helped put the icing on the cake and make it realise that it wasn't my fault. It was his fault for being a predatory adult, really. But yeah, we'll go into that story another time. As I was saying, I think I keep getting distracted today. Because I'm a bit tired, but I'm still here and I'm doing it, which is amazing. I'd normally have come up with some excuse and gone, oh no, I've done 4 weeks. That's what I was expected to do. Let's stop. But I might just carry on doing it just because I've got lots to say. I could talk for ages. And maybe it just helps somebody. Maybe. But like I say, you could just listen to it while you're going around your daily business, watch it on replay, watch it on fast forward. That's what I do. I watch things on fast forward. You can do whatever you like with it, really. But hopefully it will help somebody. Somebody will be able to relate to it and stuff. So I'm going to say goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your school holidays. Next week, when I come on, it will be getting ready for school week, won't it then? Oh God, can't believe this holiday's gone so quick. The 6 weeks holidays go so quick these days. Oh yeah, lovely. Yeah, this is just me, live, unfiltered, unscripted, unpracticed, doing shit. So if there's anything you'd like me to talk about, speak about, practice, artwork, just let me know and we'll do it. Hello. It's nice that I can see on Facebook that some people are popping in and popping out, or just popping in, and it's lovely to see you all. I hope you have a good week. Hope last week was good. As I say, just reach out if you need any mental health support. And I can direct you to a professional, or just be there for you. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go. I love you, everybody out there. You are welcome. You are worthy. You are wanted.